Your Honor, my name is Scott Rywalt, and I am the fire investigator assigned to the fire at 614 Mays Street. I'm here today to explain why the evidence recovered at that scene was lawfully obtained and should be admitted for the jury's consideration despite the defense's Fourth Amendment challenge. At 1:17 p.m., fire crews responded to a reported structure fire at 614 Mays Street. Upon arrival, dense black smoke was reported issuing from the eaves and roof vents, clearly establishing an emergency. Firefighters forced entry under exigent circumstances to protect life and property. Fire crews extinguished a fire that originated in the living room, specifically in the area around a television. Notably, Your Honor, according to the Supreme Court regarding Michigan v. Tyler, an entry to fight a fire requires no warrant, and that once in a building, officials may remain there for a reasonable amount of time to investigate the cause of the blaze. Furthermore, the Idaho Court of Appeals determined that although the Fourth Amendment protects individuals against unreasonable search and seizures, exigent circumstances authorize warrantless entry for cause and origin investigation. When I arrived at the scene, the structure had not yet been secured, and the fire scene was still considered part of the original emergency response. Fire suppression activities had recently concluded, and conditions remained consistent with an active post-fire investigation. I documented the scene exactly as the suppression crews left it to ensure that no evidence was disturbed, destroyed, or contaminated. This is standard fire investigation practice and is necessary to preserve the integrity of the scene. My actions were consistent with Michigan v. Clifford. While that case limits warrantless re-entry once the emergency has fully ended, it also recognizes that investigators may remain on scene as part of the ongoing firefighting operation. At that time, the investigation was still necessary to prevent a possible rekindle and to determine cause and origin of the fire. Therefore, my presence and documentation of the scene were lawful and appropriate. During my lawful examination, I observed missing personal items, a staged living environment, a broken television at the fire's point of origin, a melted device behind the television, and a pour pattern behind the television extending towards the kitchen. These observations were made in plain view. Under the plain view doctrine, evidence of a crime may be seized without a warrant when the discovery is inadvertent, the officer had valid entry, and evidence constitutes a crime. These conditions were all met in this case. As you can see from my chart, legal doctrine and how it applies, the exigent circumstances, active fire, warrants a lawful entry. Michigan versus Tyler, post-fire investigation was allowed. Plain view doctrine, heat distorted device and pour pattern were in plain view. Chain of custody, evidence was immediately and secured and logged. Your Honor, the defense claims that my entry onto these premises violated the Fourth Amendment. While the Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures, it does not prohibit reasonable investigative actions conducted during or immediately following a fire when public safety is at risk. Courts have consistently held that post-fire investigations conducted under these circumstances are both reasonable and necessary. In this case, the evidence was obtained during a lawful post-fire investigation under exigent circumstances in plain view while maintaining a continuous and unbroken chain of custody and in full compliance with the Fourth Amendment. Suppressing this evidence would undermine decades of established fire investigation law and would ignore the emergency realities that life safety responsibilities faced by firefighters and investigators. For these reasons, I respectfully request that all evidence be deemed admissible and presented to the jury. Thank you for your time.